that I think a lot of people miss and I think a lot of coaches don't talk about. And it's also part of the process that when a client signs up, they're often not even aware is going to be part of the process. So most people on a fat loss journey, whether you're losing like £10 or £20, £50, whatever it might be, you're going to want to do a reverse diet. Now, I would say if you've only got like £5 to lose, then you probably don't need to do this to the extreme. But I'd say anything over 10, you really want to. And more importantly, if you want the results, your fat loss results to be sustainable long term, would recommend it. Also, yeah. So I think in terms of reverse dieting, it's one of those things that isn't very fun. A lot of people get quite like a lot of dopamine or reward when they're dieting. You know, we see the scales go down, we feel leaner, we get praises. There's quite a lot of gratification for that. There's like markable changes around like, you know, your waist going down or your weight going down, all those things. So it's quite easy to stay motivated, or to some extent easier to stay motivated when you're reverse dieting. It's very hard when you're reverse dieting. And the reason for that is because it's basically finding maintenance. So reverse dieting is kind of, as it says in the tin, coming out of a dieting phase to maintenance. Now, this is where a lot of people go wrong. And you see people doing like Ozempic, GLP-1s in general, and they often stop the dieting phase, whatever it might be. Forget that one, the metabolism died down. So we obviously burn calories based off how much we weigh. So when we weigh less, we burn a little bit less calories. If we're just naturally less active, or we've got muscle mass, if we haven't dieted properly, anything like that can make a difference. Even if we've been dieting for a long time, like our hormones can downregulate, our thyroid, stuff like that as well. Hopefully you haven't impacted those things, but if you have, that can make a difference as well. So the reason that we often won't maintain at our goal weight on the same calories that we did when we sort of like started the diet. So that's really important to remember. So how do we reverse diet? That's what reverse dieting is. The goal here is to get everything firing back again to kind of where maintenance is, get your hormones healthy, thyroid healthy, metabolism healthy in general. Get yourself back in the habit of eating well. I think a lot of us are very good at being on a diet, but we're very good at finding maintenance. And it's like a bridge between the two that you, like I said, maintain the results and obviously keep the fat loss that you've achieved. So with reverse dieting, I think number one, it's important to remember that you're not going to say the exact same weight. It's good to have a range. So I usually give my clients between a 2 to 5, £6 range. For me, I know I'm maintaining like a 2 kilo range. That's about 4 or 5 pounds. And that's kind of where I like to be. Above that, for example, if it's been like loads of social occasions or Christmas or whenever, I might be like, okay, let's pull it back a little bit and, you know, do a bit more exercise, eat a little bit less, kind of get back into that range. If I'm looking at my weight, obviously, if I don't care, then fine. Or again, if I go too low, I go, okay, maybe I'm not feeling myself enough. I need to eat a little bit more and get myself back into that range. Having a range is quite helpful. And then also setting a standard for yourself of like how you want to feel. So like a certain pair of jeans you want to wear, a certain measurement size, and like a certain feeling as well. Just bear in mind, particularly as females, because our hormones change so much throughout the month, it's quite hard to be completely neutral. For example, it's day 2 of my period. Right now, I feel like a blob. I feel terrible in myself. I know rationally that's not the case because I felt great a few days ago. But that is what the female brain does to you. So just remember that you can't always base it purely off feelings because that's going to be impossible. So reverse dieting, you start with, for example, if you finish your diet phase on, let's say, 1,500 calories, what you want to do is work out your maintenance calories. So I'm going to put a free calculator you can use there to work out your calories that will be. You're going to assume it's going to be somewhere around 500-ish, 600-ish, depending how big your deficit's been, calories more than your dieting deficit calories. So for most people, and again, it depends whether you've done a good diet or a bad diet, you should only really be in like a 5 to maximum 700 calorie deficit a day. And that's food and exercise combined. That's not necessarily just food. I remember that. So what I usually recommend is adding 100 calories a week, 100 to 150 calories a week. And so, for example, week 1, you might stay at 1,500 and just get used to that. Week 2, you might go to 1,600, 1,650, hang there for a week or two. And there will be a small jump on the scales because when you eat a little bit more food, you eat a little bit more carbohydrate. Every gram of carbohydrate you eat, you gain 4 grams or hold 4 grams of water. So, for example, if you had a really carby heavy meal, the next day you will weigh heavier on the scales. That's just water weight. That's how our bodies respond to carbohydrates. So it's not a bad thing and it's not necessarily fine. So it's important to remember that, like, just by eating 100 extra calories a day, over the week, that's 700 extra calories. Some of that is going to be carbs. You will weigh a little bit heavier on the scales. You have a bit more food volume in your stomach. So remember that. But again, we want to stay within that range we're looking for. So it should only really be, we're looking for like a 0.2, 0.5 pound gain a week during this reverse dieting phase. Again, taking into consideration what I said at your time of the month, you might have 1 week where you gain 2 pounds, but that could be your period. So don't panic. That's why it's important to take it slow and steady. I say to do a good reverse dieting phase, you want about 6 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks really. And then again, keep kind of increasing until weight starts to stabilize. So you should stop losing weight. Most people during a reverse dieting phase have done slowly and steadily. So 100, 150 calories a week, you will continue to lose weight for a few weeks. Like I said, you might see some increases and that could be down to fluctuations and stuff as well. But that's kind of the goal, is to get to a point where you're eating enough food to maintain, which often is more calories than we realize. I think because a lot of us as women, we only tend to look at our calories when we're in a diet phase. So a lot of us think that we should only be eating 1,500, 1,400, 1,600 calories or 1,800 calories. Some of us think we should only be eating 1,200 calories, which I can almost guarantee you shouldn't be. But what we don't realize is actually for a lot of us, our maintenance is 2,200, 2,500. Mine's 2,300. And I think for a lot of people, we're told 2,000 is like the average. So we all think, oh yeah, 2,000 is like maximum I'll ever eat. But again, if you're a small petite female, okay, it might be. But for a lot of us, we actually need more than that. So it is important to remember that. So any questions with reverse dieting? Hopefully I've made it less confusing. Basically, over a few weeks, you're 100, 150 calories. Get yourself to a point where you're maintaining your weight quite nicely within that range. And that's when I would look to move away from tracking a little bit. If you are tracking your macros, I'd move away from tracking every single meal slowly. Again, maybe over a few weeks if you want to do this properly. Start by not tracking at weekends and see what that does to your weight. Again, shouldn't be a free-for-all, but it should just be an adjustment phase where you learn how to eat without tracking, but you should still eat adult. And then it might be that you don't track dinners and you track the rest of the day. And then over time, you can sort of break that down to intuitive eating and learning how to do that. And I have done other videos on that below, so go and have a hunt for those. Any questions with reverse dieting, put it in the comments and I'll get back to you as well. And I put the free calculator of your calorie and where you should be, so you can work that out as well below as well. So make sure you're subscribed for bi-weekly educational, valuable videos and me traveling around doing fitness stuff in the van. And yeah, thanks.